Your first business skill set to develop is sales. How do you develop a sales skill set? Read books on sales, attend seminars on sales, buy coaching on sales, and then make lots of presentations to sell. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to grow your business and your money bigger than they've ever been in your entire life. In this video entitled, Just Get Better at Business and Money, or why personal growth is the key to professional growth. If you want your business to get better, then you must get better. If you want to make more money, then you must become more valuable. And by the way, that doesn't mean you think you're more valuable. It means you actually become more valuable to people in the marketplace, not more valuable in your own eyes and by your own estimation. And then if you want to produce bigger results, then you must have a bigger impact. It's so interesting how many people will seek to be impressive, but while they're seeking to be impressive, they fail to be impactful. Whereas if you focus on being impactful, you get both. But if you focus on being impressive, you get neither. There are 3 areas in which you must grow, and I believe that one of the most important things we can learn about personal growth is this. Before I talk about personal growth, one of the most important things we can learn about personal growth is this. There is no there. There is no there. What does that mean? It means, like the Apostle Paul said, I count not myself to have apprehended, but I press toward the mark of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Therefore, this one thing I do. There's no there. What does that mean? That means there's no place that when you arrive, you will finally have arrived. There's no destination other than the journey, because the journey itself is the destination, which means that personal growth, to me at least, means that you are in a state of perpetual improvement, perpetual transformation. Like growth implies transformation. Think about it. If you grow, you turn into a bigger, better, stronger, smarter, more impactful, more intelligent version of yourself. To grow implies change. Now, we're talking about transformation. I want to say something about the Trump tariffs that I've not heard anybody talk about, and I think it's very, very important. Like, people want to tell you that it's terrible. Other people want to tell you that it's great. And I'm going to tell you, it depends on what your objective is, right? I think for the objective that President Trump has, I think the tariffs are great, because they will reduce the trade deficit, potentially, or they will start a trade war, potentially. Those are the 2 options, right? But his stated objective, I think, speaks to middle-class people, to blue-collar people, because he says, I want to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. While I think that is a noble objective to have for people, it is only a noble objective to have for people who intend to stay stuck. What does that mean? It's just like when liberals say we need to raise the minimum wage. We need to make the bottom higher. But see, to me, when you talk about making the bottom higher, hopefully you're not talking about making the bottom higher for me, because that implies to me that you think that I can't reach it. I mean, I can't reach it. Like, I won't ever be able to get past the bottom. So you're going to make the bottom higher, so I'll suffer less in my suffering. So I'll struggle less in my struggle, right? But the reality is, when you bring back manufacturing jobs to the United States of America, you're bringing back low-paying jobs that people who are growing don't want anyway, and people who are not growing aren't going to do a good job. That's just the reality of the situation. Like, fighting for making minimum wage higher is helping people stay stuck. Fighting to bring back, I'm not a politician. I don't know, I know very little about geopolitics, but I do know people. And I don't want you to make it easier for me. I just don't want you to stand in my way. I would rather that you didn't make it harder for me. But if that's what you feel like you need to do, good luck. So, I think that the whole idea that we need to bring back jobs that the companies now are hiring people in other countries to do for $2 an hour, $5 an hour, $10 an hour, $25 an hour, and say, I'm gonna bring those jobs over here. Well, it's going to cost the businesses that bring those jobs over here way more money than it was costing them to buy it in another country and then ship it here. So if you think about the age, like the industrial age, like China manufactures more than we do. All that means, like, I don't know a better way to say this. All that means is they are 75 years behind us. That's what that means. They manufacture more stuff than we do. They are 75 years behind us economically because they're still in the industrial age. The industrial age for us ended in the 1950s. I hope this is what I'm saying is making sense. And so, yes, if you're planning on staying at the bottom your whole life, yes, I can see why you'd want them to raise the minimum wage. If you plan on being a low-waged manual labor worker your whole life, I can see why you would want them to bring back manual manufacturing jobs to the United States of America. But the reality is we have so much leverage in this country, so much technology that we can leverage that, like, why would I want to spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, like working my fingers to the bone to make less money than I could make every day if I learned some new skills and how to utilize the internet to both manufacture, distribute, and find clients to serve. And then do all my transactions on the internet. Why would I want to do that? Well, because I have no intention of growing. I like what Jim Rohn said a long time ago. He said, it's okay if you say today, I don't know how to use a computer. He said, that's okay. But if you're still saying that 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 6 months from now, maybe we should come get your family and take them to safety. Because it doesn't take that long to learn how to use one. So let's talk about personal growth. What is personal growth? Personal growth is transformation for the purpose of elevation. Transformation for the purpose of elevation. So I'm going to change in a way that makes my life higher. Does that make sense? Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And so, what is the process of transformation? So, so there are 6 steps to transformation, to perpetual transformation, which I find fascinating because 6 is the number of man, 1 is the number of unity, 2 is the number of separation or holiness, 3 is the number of God, 4 is the number of the earth, 5 is the number of grace, 6 is the number of man, also the number of falsehood, probably because man believed Satan's falsehood. But 6 is the number of man. Man was created on the 6th day. Okay, so there are 6 steps to transformation. In fact, I'm going to write them on the board because I want to make sure I say them slowly enough that everybody has time to write them down. Because I know I talk fast sometimes, and I don't talk fast because I'm in a hurry. I talk fast because I get excited and then I just start talking fast. And so the next thing you know, Myron's all excited. He's all worked up and he's just talking really, really fast. And like, I wish he'd slow down. He wishes he'd slow down. Pray for me. Don't judge me. Okay. So I'm going to go over to the board. Make myself slow down. So 6 steps of transformation. Number 1 is awareness, which means if I'm going to grow personally, one of the things that I must do is I must become aware of something that I was previously unaware of. It's so amazing. Like, I remember when I first got introduced to financial services and business and selling insurance and investments, the guy that recruited me, I didn't even know I was being recruited. I literally thought I was getting a job, right? The guy that recruited me was making $10,000 a month in 1985, when $10,000 a month was a lot of money. That was more than $10,000 a month back then would buy you more than $100,000 a month will buy you now. Okay, to give you perspective. And this guy, he was just a normal guy. He wasn't dynamic. He wasn't bombastic. He wasn't theatrical. He wasn't a good speaker. He was just a guy who had built a $10,000 a month business. Now, you got to understand, I was 25 years old. I had never met anybody who made $25,000 a month. I literally didn't know that, $10,000 a month. I literally didn't know that $10,000 a month was a sentence. Right? Like that people actually said, I didn't know that professional athletes or actors made 10,000. Like 10,000 was more than I made in a year back then. Right? So if that gives you any perspective. And so, but I became aware of the fact that 10,000 a month was possible, but I also became aware that not only was it possible, it was doable because I knew someone personally who was doing it. Like, wait, what? $10,000 a month? You can make $10,000 in a month? Oh, I became aware. Now, once you become aware, and maybe it's for you, it's not $10,000 a month, but maybe it's losing weight. Maybe it's whatever your objective is to get healthier. Maybe it's to lower your blood pressure. Like I was just sharing with folks in my studio this morning, like in the last couple of days, I've lowered my top number by more than 20 points, my bottom number by 10 points in the last couple of days. Right? And why? Because I became aware of something that I previously wasn't aware of. Now, what I became aware of was some of my bad habits. And one of my bad habits was I would eat at restaurants most of the time. Like I would eat restaurant food, even at home. Even if I ate at home, either me or my wife would go to a restaurant and get food and bring it home. Why? Because there's no preparation, there's no cleanup, there's no all the stuff that you got to deal with. So, and now I just decided I'm going to hire a chef who would just make all the food that we want without me having to think about it. See, but I became aware. I became aware that aerobic exercise, which I used to hate, but I now love, right? Why do I love it? Because it's helped me lower my blood pressure by a combined 30 points, right? In a couple of days, not a couple of weeks, not a couple of months. So I became aware of what it can do for me. So I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is get on the assault bike and I ride it for 30 minutes straight, get my heart rate above 130 beats a minute. Constantly, and then get it up above 150 beats a minute a couple of times during that ride. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. That's exactly the sound you're supposed to make till you get in better shape, bruh. Right? Okay. So I became aware. So it begins with awareness. That's the first step. Step number 2 is intention. Awareness and intention. So you set an intention to have this transformation. I'm going to step into my new awareness. I'm going to make the new thing that I became aware of, I'm going to make that my experience in reality. Now, I know people say you can create your own reality, but you can't. But what you can create is you can create your own experience in reality, right? Because you don't get to change reality, but you do get to change your experience. Are y'all tracking? And by the way, words matter, right? And so I become aware of the potential that I have within me or for me. What's potential? The difference between who I am and who I could be. The difference between what I'm doing and what I could do. The difference between what I have and what I could have. That's my potential. Potential is by its very nature a gap. And so my awareness in the gap of what I could be, who I could be, what I could be doing, and what I can have, all of a sudden there's a light shown on it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, right? And then I do it. Like I was speaking at an event here in Tampa last April, and a new friend of mine was sitting on the front row, and he was sitting beside my daughter, and I was doing my illustration about how our two basic expenses are number 1 is not knowing how to make $1 million a year, and number 2 is taxes. And I was talking about how much Americans pay in taxes, 51% in taxes. And then I started thinking about taxes. Then I started lamenting the hundreds of thousands of dollars a quarter I was sending to the U.S. Treasury, right? And this new friend of mine, he leaned over, and he's a billionaire with a B. He leans over to my daughter and he says, "Your dad's a good man. He shouldn't be paying taxes." Like, what does that sentence mean? Right? Right? What does that sentence mean? And then I'm talking a little bit longer. He leans over to her and says, I'm going to help you, family. Y'all are good people. You're not going to pay taxes anymore. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. I don't know what it means, but at least I became aware of the fact that it exists. I actually became aware of it the first time when Donald Trump was running for president in 2016. And he said, the person interviewing said, you made $400 million last year. You didn't pay anything in taxes. How do you explain that? He said, because I'm smart. Right. And I said, I want to be that smart. That was a lot of people were mad. I wasn't mad. I was just dumbfounded. Like, how do you do that? Well, guess what? Guess what? Like, I paid taxes in 2023. Like, a lot. I was getting ready to pay my last tax payment for 2023 in October of 2024. Because if you have a business, to like use your money as long as you can before you hand it over, right? Is what you do, right? Isn't that what happens before you hand it over? What happens is, I was getting ready to pay my previous year's taxes on October 15th. That check was $534,000. That's the balance that I had left after already paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had a $534,000 bill left. I was getting ready to write the check. My tax strategist called me and said, don't write that check. He had been working on my taxes. He and my CPA had been working on my taxes for a couple of months. Don't write that check. I think I might be able to get you a refund. A what? A refund. I had not gotten a tax refund since 1995. And now you're talking to me about getting a refund? I don't even know. I'm not even sure I remember what that word means. And then he told me how much it was, and it was multiple six figures. I'll just say that. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? Right, but that's what I said. How? Right? Okay, we're going. So, and I know y'all want to know how, but I have to be theatrical and I have to do my thing my way. So y'all just gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait on it, brother. Okay, so I said, okay, I'm not going to write the check. But I'll be honest with you, I wasn't fully, like, you know how when you first start flying and you're not comfortable, you don't put all your weight down? I wasn't putting all my weight down on don't write that check. I certainly wasn't putting all my weight down on you might get a refund. I believed him because he's not a liar, but it didn't make sense to me because I had never experienced it. And he said, in 6 weeks, this money will be in your account. And 6 weeks went by and the money was not in my account. Then 6 weeks and 1 day, still no money. 6 weeks, 2 days, no money. 7 weeks, no money. About 7 weeks and 2 days in, bing, the money hits my account. But the amount was not what he told me it was. It was literally like hundreds of thousands of dollars more. Yeah. Like, what just happened? Well, what happened was we got the benefits of all the real estate that we already own. Cost segregation, bonus depreciation, accelerated depreciation, all this stuff, plus our regular business expenses. And so we literally got back all the money that we paid in taxes for 2023. And I was in the process of buying some more real estate last year. He said, if you buy this property, I'll be able to get all the money you paid this year back again. And then if you just keep accumulating real estate, you'll never have to pay taxes again.
Praise the Lord.
Yes, hallelujah. So I became aware, I set my intention, and then 3 is you have to make a decision. Now, a decision is not the same as a choice. You can tell them they can come in. It's fine. They're okay, cool. So a decision is not the same as a choice. A decision comes from the Latin root. By the way, did you notice this word spells aid, right? It'll aid you in your transformation. These letters spell aid. Okay, so decide comes from the Latin root de, which means of or from, and then side, which means to cut. So when you decide something, you cut yourself off from any other possibility. So a decision is not a choice. A decision is actually a covenant that you make with yourself, where you'd rather die and keep your word to yourself than live and break it. See, most people that you will meet in your whole life have very, very weak and atrophied decision-making muscles. They make a lot of choices, but almost no decisions. When you decide, it's not like, I'm going to try. A try is a lie. You're going to try. But I'm lying. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. Like, the word try literally just, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. What are you trying to do? I'm not trying to do anything. I'm either doing it or I'm not doing it. So you make a decision. You don't make a choice. You make a decision. Once you make that decision, now we're moving and grooving. It requires, number 4 is discipline. What's discipline? Discipline is, and by the way, even before I tell you about discipline, I'm going to give you Exhibit 3.1. Okay. And that is, disruption always follows intention. So when you set a new intention, the first thing that's going to show up is a disruption. What does that mean? That means when I make a decision to do something good, the first thing that shows up is something hard, something difficult, something bad. When I make a real decision, why? Because it's been sent to either, depends on who we receive it from, it's been sent to strengthen us, or it's been sent to weaken us. What does that mean? That means that God ordained that the enemy attempt to weaken you with what he intends to strengthen you. What does that mean? Okay. So God gives us promises. These promises he puts in front of us. He didn't put them off to the side. He didn't put them up here. If you do this, you can expect this. So guess what the enemy does? The enemy comes and he says, well, I'm going to bring you like a promise. Oh, I'm going to show you a promise, Thomas. Sorry. I'll show you a promise. And he comes and brings a problem. He didn't put the problem over here, didn't put it up here, didn't put it back here behind. He says, wow. We start freaking out, right? And the enemy puts the promise here to distract us from the promise, because he wants us to focus on the problem as if the promise wasn't there. So why would God ordain that the enemy bring us a problem and put it here? Because God wants to show us that we can learn. What's the word I just used? We can learn to look through the problem. We don't even need the problem to move. We can learn to look through the problem and see the promise, and learn to focus on the promise as if the problem weren't there. You change the game. Disruption always follows intention. It always has, it always will. It's not going to, like that. This principle is not going to stop happening because you don't like it. Hey, it's so hard. Deal with it, baby. Okay. So you have to have discipline because disruption always follows intention. Okay. Then after disruption, after you make a decision, this is all the introduction, by the way. No, I'm serious. So after discipline, the next thing you need, number 5, is recognition. Take time to notice your progress. Take time to acknowledge your progress. How do I know this is a principle for high achievement? Because God did it in Genesis chapter 1. And God said, and it was so. And God saw that it was good. And then God said again, and what happened? It was so. And then what happened? God saw that it was good. See, one of the biggest problems people have is they don't take inventory of their own wins, and they don't recognize their wins. Learn to recognize the wins that you have. We recognize like the difficulties, the challenges, the battles, but then we ignore the wins. Oh, well, that was only this, and then we minimize it. Don't minimize it, recognize it. And then lastly, in transformation, 4 comes right after 5, Myron. Okay. Can you spell, bro? Okay. Okay. Is celebration. Learn to celebrate your wins. It'll make you desire to have them. I remember back in the days when me and my wife, bless her heart, when we were pitiful poor. You say, Myron, what's pitiful poor? That's when you're so poor, the poor people feel sorry for you. And so what I did back in those days is I would buy old raggedy cars and I'd put a transmission in it or do some body work on it or put an engine in it or fix something that was wrong with it. And then I'd put it in the paper and sell it for a few $100s more than I bought it for. And then every time we sold a car, we'd go celebrate. We'd go shopping at AmVets or Goodwill. That's how we celebrated. Well, one of these trips where we went, well, that wasn't even for that. That was a different celebration. One time when I went to Goodwill, because I used to do a lot of shopping at Goodwill. I'm just keeping it real, because a lot of rich people give their stuff to Goodwill and Salvation Army. Like when I'm done with stuff, I give it to Goodwill, Salvation Army, like homeless shelters. Like, I'm happy for them to go make money on it. Anyway, plus, by the way, you get a write-off on it. I don't know if y'all knew that or not. They'll actually give you a receipt for the actual value, and you can write that off. Fast forward. I went to Goodwill one day. I was shopping, bought this old box of Amway tapes. Guess what was in there? Jim Rohn, The Day That Changes Your Life, speaking at an Amway conference. I must have wore that tape out. I mean, I never listened to something so many times in my life, right? And so we celebrated by going shopping. We still do celebrations for big wins that we have. Now, those. In fact, I'm gonna leave that there. Those are the 6 steps in transformation. Now, we talked about how to transform, but we didn't talk about what to transform. We talked about how to grow. We didn't talk about what to grow. So let's talk about what to grow. Now, put my glasses back on so I can see what I wrote here. Now that we set the groundwork, let's look at the 3 areas in which we must grow if we are serious, not just curious about changing and growing in our business and finances. Okay. You've heard me talk about them before, but I'm going to go into more detail than I go into most times. Okay. Number 1, you must grow in the area of mindset. Now, when we say mindset, it's a compound word. I think the biggest mistake people make when they think about their mind is they think their mind and their brain are the same thing. Okay? But your mind is way more than your brain. Your mind is in every cell of your body. It's your identity code. It's your mind. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but did you know that your DNA is actually code? It's actually information. Okay. Well, that information is in every cell in your body. And so and we're all programmed differently and uniquely. Some people are really good at singing. Other people are good at musical instruments. Some people can just, they never took a lesson. They can just play a piano. I literally saw a 1.5-year-old on Instagram yesterday playing a piano. And it sounded like music. It wasn't noise. They were playing. I'm like, but how do they know? That's their gift. It was given to them. It was programmed into them. Some people are naturally good at athletics. Some people are naturally good at math. And so the thing we have to realize is we can take our talents that we've been given and we can turn them into more by adding skill, which I'm going to talk about next. But my mindset needs to be first and foremost an infinite possibilities mindset. Have you ever taken inventory of your belief systems? Have you? Because the reality is we all believe something. And I heard Tony Robbins say this a long time ago. And it's one of the best things I've ever heard him say. If you'd like to achieve any form of human excellence, find somebody who's excellent in that arena and model 3 things. What are those 3 things? You model their belief systems, you model their mental syntax, and you model their physiology. Their belief systems are what they believe about X, Y, and Z. If you want to get really good at something, find somebody who's good at that something and ask them what they believe about that aspect of that thing. Okay, so beliefs. Two is syntax is the order in which they fire off messages in your brain. Like I coach salespeople, I coach entrepreneurs. One of the things that I'm fascinated by is they don't understand the syntax of sales and the syntax of closing. They'll do the right thing sometimes, but they'll do them in the wrong order. Why would you do that before you do that? Right? I see salespeople and they reveal the price before they reveal the value. What are you doing? That's like inside out, upside down, and backwards, right? So beliefs. When I'm talking about mindset, I'm talking about your basic foundational belief about how things work and how you should desire and deserve to work in those things. Like, I want to work the way things work. I don't want to attempt to make them work the way I like to do it, right? I'm not. That's a formula for disaster and delusion. And so. But I think the most important aspect of your mindset when it comes to just doing better in business and finance is to have an empowered expectation. Most people's expectation is so disempowered that it's a wonder they can do anything. Most people believe more in their limitations than they do in their leverage. Most people believe more in their inabilities than they do their infinite abilities. And it doesn't make sense to me. And so, well, it does make sense, but most people are living well below their privilege because they refuse to step into who they actually are, because they're so bought into their past struggle story that they won't let go of it. So, mindset, empowered expectation. What does that mean? I always expect everything I work on to work. Now, you want to know something amazing? I always expect everything I work on to work. It always does. I've never worked on anything that didn't work. Now, everything that I worked on didn't work for me, but the things that didn't work for me worked on me. And so if the thing I was working on didn't get better, it made me better. You can't lose with the stuff I use. What? So they're like, I'm fascinated that people have so much resistance to put their hat in the ring when they can only win. You either get a blessing or you get a lesson. Either way, you win. So, mindset, belief systems, and expectations. And then if you'll take the next aspect of mindset, which I think if you combine these three things together, it is a bet you cannot lose, and that is tenacity. Like dogged determination. We were talking about the book Anti-Fragile earlier, right? Oh, I'm going to draw it on the board. I never drawn this on the board before. This is going to be so much fun. So if you think of tenacity is like, well, I'm going to show you. So this is a continuum. So if fragile is over here, most people would think that the opposite of fragile would be strong, right? But the opposite of fragile is not strong. Strong on this continuum would be, strong would be in the middle, right? And the opposite of fragile would be anti-fragile. Now, what does that mean? The opposite of fragile would be anti-fragile. So if you think about fragile means it's easily broken. Strong means difficult to break. But anti-fragile means things that break strong things with difficulty and fragile things with ease make anti-fragile things stronger. The tagline of the book Anti-Fragile is That's so good. I'm such an artist. Okay. Sorry. And then okay, the same wind that extinguishes a candle feeds a forest fire. So how can I become so tenacious that the same things that break fragile people easily, strong people with difficulty, those same things make me stronger? That's the mindset. Okay, so mindset, skill set. In personal growth, I think personal growth for the purpose of business and finance, skill set that are absolutely required. There are 3 of them. Sales skill sets. You must learn to sell. Yep. Most people don't like sales. So I want you to think about that. Most people don't like sales. I'd say a good 95% of the people hate selling. Now, let me ask you a question. And I want you to say it out loud. What is the alternative? And say it out loudly. What is the alternative to selling? Buying. The opposite of selling is buying. Most people hate to sell. What does that mean? Most people only love to buy. Which means the people who learn to sell and love to sell have a market that will never tap out. Because it's 18 times bigger. 19, literally it's 19 times bigger. The market of people who love to buy is 19 times bigger than the market of people who love to sell. You can't lose with the stuff I use. And you have no competition. Even when you get into the arena of people who like to sell, then you got to apply Price's law. 50% of the production of any domain is produced by the square root of that domain. And so if you have 100 salespeople, 10 of them are going to make half of the commissions. The other 90% are not even, they're just also rans. Right? So do you understand how hard it is to lose when your mindset is right and your skill set is right? And your skill set, your first business skill set to develop is sales. How do you develop a sales skill set? Read books on sales, attend seminars on sales, buy coaching on sales, and then make lots of presentations to sell.
Yes.
You will learn more from talking to people about your offer than you will from all the books you're going to read. And you read the books to have something to apply to the people that you talk to. You go to the seminars to have something to apply to the people you talk to. But you don't learn how to sell by listening to somebody talk about sell. You learn how to sell by talking to people. And at the end, they vote with their wallet. And if their vote is no, you didn't learn how to sell. If their vote is yes, you did. A percentage of them, not all of them. All of them are going to buy. Everybody's not your customer, and be okay with that. Learn to kiss people goodbye. Okay, so skill set. Selling is number 1. Marketing is number 2. So selling is uncovering the value of what I have to offer so well that people are happy to exchange the money they have in their pocket for the value I've revealed. So selling is about uncovering value. What's marketing? Marketing is the art and science. The what? Art and science of discovering. Marketing is a discovery process. Marketing is the art and science of discovering and developing more and more of your product, your service, and or your opportunity. That's what marketing is. It's the art and science of discovering and developing more and more of your product, service, or opportunity. So marketing is all about the questions you ask, because questions are the answer. And then, last but most assuredly not least, tool set. Last skill set. There are 3 skills. So skill set number 1 is sales. Skill set number 2 is marketing. Skill set number 3 is branding. Branding. What's a brand? A brand is a name that reminds you of a story. And I would recommend that you build a personal brand before you build a business brand, because your personal brand will make your business brand very easy to scale. So, okay, that's mindset and skill set. Lastly is tool set. So I'm going to talk about 2 tool sets that are absolutely essential. Whether you have a job, whether you own your own business, whether you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, wealthpreneur, whatever, there are 2 tools that are absolutely essential. Well, I'm going to say three. I'm going to say three tools in my tool set. Number one, some kind of connected device like a computer. You need to be able to use computing power. Why? Because computers can compute faster than you can, and we can accomplish things faster. Man, anyway, computer. I'm thinking about so many things I'd love to say, but computer. But that computer needs to be connected to number two, which is the internet. Okay? You need to utilize the internet. Why? Because the internet connects all of us together. The internet can connect you to your suppliers, your distributors, and your customers. A computer's connected to the internet. Wow, that's amazing. I have people buy stuff from me from all over the world. Places I've never been, I've made thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars from places I've never been and places I'll never go. Why? Because I have a computer connected to the internet that has me talking on it on different platforms and then places for people to come buy stuff from me. The last one I'm going to talk about, everybody hear me and hear me well. Artificial intelligence, it's not going anywhere. And if you don't learn to use it, you will be going somewhere. And where you end up, you won't like it. Use artificial intelligence to help you do the work you already do in your business, at your job, at your church, in your ministry, in your family. Use artificial intelligence. If you're not using AI, AI is not going to replace you. Someone who's using AI is going to replace you. Don't miss out on that. I think for myself, but I use AI as a research assistant. And it assists me very quickly. So, growth in these three areas will create growth both in your businesses and in your money. Don't miss this train. Why? Because personal growth is the key to professional growth. Just get better at business and money. Thanks for watching. I appreciate y'all being here, and we'll see you on the next video.